Well, you said the last drink you ever had was with Shock G and Tupac.
Okay, so I will clarify that.
Okay.
The last time that I took a bottle from a man to toast somebody was me taking a bottle from Shock G toasting Tupac. I've had sips of champagne or beer or something like that since, but the last time I especially took hard alcohol and took a bottle, took a swig, was that, and that's 20 years ago.
Okay. And I guess you have a liver disorder?
I was diagnosed with, oh God, I guess it would have been, well, I was diagnosed with a liver disorder when I was 11 or 12 years old. So got through that, literally lost 50 pounds in the hospital. Got through that, and by the time I got to the point, because they told me don't drink in your teenage years, you got to have your liver heal. By the time I got to my early 20s and was allowed to drink, when I tasted it, I didn't like the taste of it. When I had a couple drinks, I took a couple shots with a girlfriend I was seeing at the time and didn't like the feeling of not being in control of my body and just left it alone.
Right. You've never done drugs.
No.
I mean, do you think that things would have gone differently if you kind of ended up doing cocaine and like a lot of the, lean and a lot of the drugs that have kind of affected the hip hop community?
For me, I've always felt since my childhood, I went to an accelerated high school. I went to a high school called Hunter College High School. Mm-hmm. So I know multiple kids that got 1,600 on the SATs. Like Justice Elena Kagan went to my high school. Like Lin-Manuel Miranda went to my high school. Okay. There's some really impressive people that they're just in my year that went to my high school that do impressive things. So I've always felt that regardless of my rap talent and the success I've had as an artist or as a writer, that my brain overall is the strongest part of me. So anything that would affect my brain, that would affect my ability to problem solve, discern, be creative, not for me. So if there's something because a lot of people drink and do drugs to avoid things, and I'm very self-confrontational. If there's something that needs to be dealt with, I just deal with it, because I was platinum at 22. Mm. You know what I mean? So a lot of the issues that people would have trying to, grow up and say, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? What am I going to do with, for a living? Are women going to like me? Am I going to make money? All that stuff I had handled, I felt, at 22. So I was able to sit back, watch, but also work on being the best me that I could be. And the best me that I could be would be not to take a substance that alters your brain.
Well, yeah, but you look at, for example, your contemporaries like Flavor Flav, who crashed your Grammy speech, and I've interviewed him about this. Mm-hmm. He's had a lifelong struggle with crack, and he even talked about how, when we talked, he said, listen, I was doing crack for 10 years straight. It's going to take me 10 years sober to get out of it. And I think after that interview, he relapsed. Because I remember him talking about, I've been sober for a year. And I'm like, okay, the interview was this man. Okay, so he must have relapsed and so forth. I mean, you've seen it, of course, DMX. We had actually paid DMX for an interview, and he couldn't make it. And then we were trying to reschedule it, and then he dies from a drug overdose. You see this all the time. I mean, in fact, I've interviewed 5 people that have died from drug overdoses. Most recently, Rich Homie Quan.
Wow.
Coolio, who you knew very well. Mac Miller, Aaron Carter, and Gangster Boo from 3 6 Mafia.
I mean...
Serious.
Yeah, no, it's
especially with fentanyl these days.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, of course, it's very serious. And I just look at it like, okay, I always look at situations, the thing I say to myself is, what's the alternative? But also, if I go through this thing, if I do this thing, then what? Right? So if I'm going to take a substance to alter my brain to get me to forget about a problem, okay, I'll forget about the problem for whatever time the drug has the effect, then what? The problem won't go away. It'll probably be worse because I haven't addressed it. So is it better for me to address the problem or delay the problem? And in doing that, also not alter my brain in a way that it may not come back from, especially as I age.
Yeah.
And as you said, I have people close to me that for whatever reason have, died due to drug overdoses, whether knowingly or unknowingly.
Well, yeah. I mean, Coolio has had kind of a lifelong struggle with crack. I remember when I interviewed him, he even explained to me why he started smoking crack again. It was like people accused him of smoking crack. He's like, well, I might as well smoke it then. You could always justify drug use. There's no shortages of reasons to do drugs. But losing Coolio at what was he, in his 50s, I think?
I want to say late 50s.
Late 50s? Yeah, man, that was a tough one. Because, I didn't know him that well. I interviewed him. But
No, they were, no, dude, it was tough. When I got the call and my agent was very close to him, it was heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So, like, if I needed any motivation to stay clean and not get into stuff,
those moments,
I get it, but I don't really need it. I try and be somewhat of a voice of reason. I kick myself because there's certain situations, and I won't say who, but there's certain situations where we the talk was to do an intervention and it wasn't done because everybody's busy or everybody doesn't want to get into this person's business, and then the person dies having to do with a drug overdose. And it's tough.
So a rapper you knew, they had talked about doing intervention with him.
Yeah, and it wasn't Coolio. So it's not yeah. But yeah, the talk was do an intervention years before, and then they passed away. And not saying that the intervention would have worked, because a lot of times, especially, we have rappers have invincibility complexes. I'm not gonna say God complexes because that's too pretentious. Yeah. Rappers have invincibility complexes where, I'm not gonna get sick. That isn't gonna happen to me. I can take any drug. I can do whatever, because you start believing the shit you say in your rhymes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I was to be part of an intervention for a rapper that had any level of success, they just look at all the people trying to do, even if it's loved ones or whatever. It's like, y'all don't know how good I am. Y'all don't know how strong I am. Y'all don't know how damn near invincible I am. I'll show you. So that's the hard part of it, is I understand the mentality because I have a little of that mentality myself. Not something that's going to make me, turn to drugs, but definitely something that would make me avoid reality for a bit. I'm a great rapper. I can rap my way out of anything. And that's the logic.
Yeah. Well, I smoke weed. I'm not particularly proud of it, but it just is what it is. And but
if it calms you and you can,
yeah.
I used to be, full on teetotaler and don't do this, don't do that. It's like people need to cope. So yeah. I totally get it.
Yeah. And listen, it could be worse. It's highly.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
Well, Young MC, man, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And when I saw you on Drink Champs, I'm like, okay, I think this is
good, man. I'm hoping we could do it again. I know you have recurring stuff with people. I'm only there in Arizona. I got some stuff that I'm doing musically now, so it's great.
No, absolutely, man. You have an open seat whenever you want to come back. And like I said at the very beginning, what you and Tone Loc did in a couple of years really dominated, I feel, not just hip hop, but music in general.
Sure.
Because you guys were West Coast artists, but you didn't know that by listening to the music.
Right.
It wasn't like traditional West Coast music. It was original and it had a groove to it, but it was unique and it was dope in its own way. And you guys weren't emulating anybody else.
Well, here's the thing.
You guys created your own style, I feel.
We did, but here's the thing. What was traditional West Coast hip hop in '87?
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
About 87.
Like everybody was trying to carve out their lane. So I Let 'Em Know. I had My Name Is Young.
Yeah.
Tone had Got It Going On. Literally, like I think Easy had Boys in the Hood or NWA had their first record. Bataram, 6 in the Morning. These records were unique. If you talk about Rodney O and Joe Cooley,
yeah,
even Wrecking Crew stuff. These records were really unique, and they may have had influences around, but nobody really stuck to a certain formula. So that was the thing. Like a record that was going to blow would seem unique.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you on this, because I feel like during that time, West Coast hip hop had like an electro kind of feel to it. You see what I'm saying? The Uncle Jam's Army, the Arabian Prince, like people like that, I felt was setting the tone for what West Coast hip hop sounded like. And of course, the Ice-T's and so forth were going off in their own direction. But
But
like I said,
everybody wasn't going to rap at 120 beats a minute, 126 beats a minute.
They weren't.
That was electro. That was a phase of it. But not to cut you off, but that's what made West Coast hip hop unique.
Yeah.
Is that you had the 125 beats a minute electro sound, and then you had guys that wanted to bob the head to something around 90. Those are two distinctly different things. Then when sampling came in, sampling made everything unique.
Sampling kind of started, though, if you think about it. Rapper's Delight was a sample.
Yeah, no, most definitely. But
so it was always part of the equation, I feel.
Yeah, but like a lot of the electro stuff was not as sample based.
No, not at all.
Right.
Not at all. But like I say, your big record was, you could almost say, was a Red Hot Chili Peppers record in a way, because like the you had Flea on the bass, and it really had a
the
funk kind of feel to it.
And the Ball and Jack sample. There was a lot of just straight up samples in that record. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, absolutely. But once again, that made it unique. And I say, if on the East Coast they wouldn't have let that record come out, I don't know a label on the East Coast that would have put that record out.
Yeah, well, Delicious Vinyl, I really feel was a legendary label that doesn't get the props that it deserves. Like, for example, the Far Side's first album was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it was a great record. And I got to shout out Def Jeff. Def Jeff put out 2 records on Delicious Vinyl, and he just had the misfortune of coming out, I want to say either October or November on both records. And by the time it got to the holidays, it was overwhelmed by all the holiday releases, and too far away from summer to really do a bunch of touring to really make something happen. So, I always have a warm spot in my heart for Def Jeff when it comes to me thinking about the Delicious days, because him being there was definitely a positive for us in terms of artistry, but in terms of he could have definitely, I would have loved it if he had more of a I would have loved it if he would have been more celebrated as an artist himself.
I mean, hit records, man, it's like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, you can't predict it. That's what you said.
You can't predict it.
Did you know Bust a Move was going to be a hit? No. Did you know Wild Thing was going to be a hit? No. Did you know Funky Cole Medina was going to be a hit? Maybe, because we saw what Wild Thing was doing, but you couldn't predict it because people might have been sick of the rock thing. You just put it out, do your best, see what it is.
That's what it is, Young MC, man. Truly an honor to finally sit down with you. It's always special to me to sit down with an artist that I loved before I ever got into the music industry.
Thank you, man.
Like, because at that point, you're sitting in your bedroom in high school with your headphones on, and these people are, especially growing up in the Bay Area, you don't see these people. You don't meet them. Right. You don't know them. You don't
There's no video.
There's no video. You don't think you could ever do this. It's not realistic. Later on in life, you start to meet rappers, and you have interactions, sometimes negative, and it kind of taints the way you look at the music. But interviewing someone like you, where at the time when I first became familiar with you, I was strictly a hip hop fan. I had absolutely no plans to do this for a living. Like, this is really a very left field kind of move for me. I mean, you watched the Nori interview.
Yeah, sure.
I did. Like, I wasn't ever planning to do this in high school or even in college. It just happened. And to interview someone that I absolutely, I love their music so much, like with you, is truly an honor, man. And thank you so much for coming in.
No problem. Thank you, dude. I look forward to hopefully doing this again.
Let's do it.
All right.
Peace.